It is a warm summer evening. The porch light is on, the window is open just a crack, and without any warning, something large hits the glass with a soft, frantic thud. You turn, and there it is, a mosquito, but wrong. Enormous, legs stretched impossibly long, wings moving in a chaotic, uncoordinated flutter, the whole body slamming itself against the window again and again as if it has completely lost control. Every instinct tells you the same thing. That is not a normal mosquito. That is a giant one. And if a regular mosquito bites, this thing, 3 or 4 times the size, must be something to be genuinely afraid of. Stop. Before you reach for anything to swat it with, there is something you should know. That creature crashing helplessly against your window is not hunting you. It cannot bite you even if it wanted to. And the truth about what it is actually doing there is one of the saddest, strangest, most quietly moving stories in your entire backyard. Most people call it a giant mosquito. Some call it a mosquito hawk, convinced it must hunt smaller mosquitoes the way a hawk hunts smaller birds. Neither name is accurate. The insect at your window is a crane fly. It is not a mosquito at all, not a larger version, not a related species, not even a close biological cousin in any meaningful sense. The resemblance is almost entirely coincidental. Long legs, slender body, 2 wings instead of 4. From a distance, in poor light, the silhouette is similar enough to trigger every fear a mosquito has ever earned. But the crane fly and the mosquito are different insects with different lives, different mouths, and an entirely different relationship with you. Here is the first thing that should change how you feel about it. The crane fly cannot bite you. It has no piercing mouthparts capable of breaking human skin, no blood-feeding apparatus, nothing remotely resembling the mosquito's specialized proboscis. Many adult crane fly species barely feed at all. Some have mouthparts so reduced they are essentially non-functional, capable of taking in nothing more than a trace of nectar or moisture, if anything at all. The creature throwing itself against your window has no interest in your blood. It is physically incapable of wanting it. Oh, why does it fly so badly? Why the crashing, the frantic looping, the apparent total lack of control? Part of the answer is anatomy. The crane fly's legs are extraordinarily long and fragile relative to its body, easily detached, poorly suited to the kind of precise aerial maneuvering a mosquito performs with ease. Part of the answer is attraction to light, which scrambles its navigation entirely once it enters a porch or a lit room, sending it into the erratic, repeated collisions you are watching right now. But there is a deeper reason behind the chaos, and it is the part of this story that changes everything. The adult crane fly you are looking at has, in most cases, only a few days left to live. It emerged from the soil as an adult with one purpose remaining in its entire existence: find a mate, reproduce, and complete a life cycle that began months earlier as a larva underground. It does not need to eat extensively because it does not have time to need it. Many adults survive on stored energy reserves from their larval stage, burning through them in a frantic, days-long final chapter that ends, almost universally, in death. The chaotic flying, the desperate collisions with your window, the apparent panic. None of it is aggression. It is exhaustion, a body running on a final reserve of energy, flying with everything it has left, searching for a mate before the time runs out entirely. I remember the first time I read about adult crane fly lifespans and feeling something shift in how I saw that frantic shape against the glass. It was not a monster trying to get in. It was a creature running out of time, throwing itself at the brightest thing in its remaining world because its internal compass had been hijacked by a porch light it had no way of understanding. It is not hunting you. It is not attacking you. It is simply, quietly, running out of days and spending what remains of them in the most uncoordinated, desperate flight it has left in its body. There is one more myth worth clearing up. Many people believe crane flies eat mosquitoes, hence the name mosquito hawk, and the widespread idea that crane flies should be welcomed as natural mosquito control. They do not eat mosquitoes. There is no documented evidence that adult crane flies prey on mosquitoes in any meaningful way. The mouthparts that cannot bite you also cannot effectively hunt another flying insect. The mosquito hawk name is a complete misnomer, built on a resemblance and a hopeful assumption rather than any observed behavior. If you have been leaving crane flies alone because you thought they were eating your mosquito problem, that specific reason was never true. But as it turns out, there is a far better reason to leave them alone regardless. The real value of the crane fly is not in the adult you see at your window. It is in the larva, the stage that came before, the stage most people never witness at all. Crane fly larvae, often called leather jackets for their tough, segmented skin, live in soil and decaying organic matter. They feed on dead plant material, fungal growth, and decomposing root structures, breaking complex organic matter down into smaller components that bacteria and fungi can further process into usable soil nutrients. This larval stage can last for months, sometimes nearly a full year, entirely underground, entirely unseen, doing the slow work of nutrient recycling that every healthy garden depends on. This makes the crane fly larva a genuine soil engineer. As it tunnels and feeds through the upper layers of soil, it improves aeration and drainage in much the same way earthworms do. It accelerates the breakdown of leaf litter and dead grass that would otherwise sit on the surface far longer. It forms part of the underground food web that supports birds and other insects that depend on a healthy soil ecosystem. The frantic, dying adult at your window spent the vast majority of its life as this quiet underground worker. The few chaotic days you witness are the very last chapter of a much longer, far more useful story. So what should you actually do when one finds its way inside? Turn off the light it is fixated on, if you can. Open a window or a door nearby. In almost every case, once the light source is removed or an exit becomes the brightest option available, the crane fly will find its way back outside on its own. If it is struggling and you want to help directly, a glass and a piece of card is enough to escort it out without harming it. It cannot bite you in the process. There is nothing to fear in the handling. There is one practical signal worth knowing. A large number of crane flies emerging from your lawn in a short period often indicates consistently moist, poorly drained soil. The exact conditions that crane fly larvae prefer and that mosquito larvae also depend on. A heavy crane fly emergence is not a problem in itself, but it can be a useful early indicator that your lawn's drainage deserves a closer look, particularly if mosquitoes have also been a persistent issue in the same area. Go back to that moment at the window. The frantic thudding. The too long legs. The size that made your heart jump before your mind caught up. It was never a giant mosquito. It was never hunting you. It was a creature in the final days of a life that had already done most of its real work months earlier, underground, recycling the dead matter that fed the soil beneath your lawn. What you were watching was not an attack. It was an ending, a desperate, uncoordinated, deeply ordinary ending, repeated in countless windows on countless summer evenings, almost entirely unnoticed by the people watching it happen. The next time one crashes against your glass, you will not see a monster anymore. You will see something running out of time, trying, in the only way it knows how, to finish what it came here to do. Have you ever panicked at the sight of one of these crashing into your window? Or did you already know it was harmless? Tell me in the comments. I'd genuinely like to know how many people have been afraid of something that was simply trying to survive its last few days. And if that changed the way you feel about the things that startle you in summer. Wait until you discover what the small, silent moth circling your porch light has actually been doing to your garden for its entire short life. It looks like nothing more than a nuisance. It is not. That story is coming next.